Welcome to Tales from SYL Ranch, where everyone is entitled to my opinion, and I'm Bill Stone. Well, tonight on Tales from SYL Ranch, we have yet another Batstream live watch party and reaction for and a filing of Batwoman, the modern-day Plan 9 from outer space. Batwoman is, in fact, a series being written, directed, and produced by people who are doing their level-damned best, just like Ed Wood Jr. did. The problem is that just like Ed Wood Jr. and the people around him, these people are really, really incompetent, and so their level-damned best is really, really bad. It really is just like Plan 9 from outer space. The problem is that as a reviewer, having something like this every week where it's you just know going into it is going to be bad makes it reviewing it kind of painful. It's not, I go into a lot of depth, generally speaking, with my reviews, and when I do it, I go, it can take me an hour and a half, 2 hours, sometimes 3, depending on the subject matter, for me to do any kind of, useful research, so I can come and give my detailed reviews. Well, God, to do that every single week with a show this bad, you just go, why am I doing this kind of effort? No, so I'm not. So I'm now doing live Batstream watch parties, where I've generally enjoyed myself, so I think my viewers have as well. And as this is a live Batstream watch party, I will be taking questions or comments about anything about the stupid or anything else as we go along, and viewers are certainly encouraged to shout out with their own stupid, which I may miss, or which we may be commiserating about together, such as killing the Joker off screen by Batman. Feel free to throw out your own comments, and I will share them after the episode proper is done. I'm happy to sit and talk to you about just about anything. But to explain the show, for the benefit of viewers who may be new, because statistically, given the numbers I have, I sure hope I get some that pop in. Tales from SYL Ranch is a science fiction, fantasy, horror, comic book, and other genre-related review and commentary show. Sometimes I'll talk about serious films and TV, sometimes I talk about complete schlock, and sometimes I talk about modern films with a broad appeal, such as Star Wars movies, Marvel movies, The Orville, Doctor Who, and lately, of course, Batwoman, the modern-day Plan 9 from outer space. Most of my reviews are pre-recorded, but for special occasions, such as these stupid bat streams I'm kind of enjoying, I will do a live bat stream or some kind of stream. During live streams, I will, of course, take any questions, comments, and nasty remarks. I will respond to as many viewers as possible. And you can tell me if I missed something, if I'm completely full of crap, or if I'm just an amazingly hoopy frood. My reviews, generally speaking, are in a lot more depth than any other reviewer you're going to see. I don't just say whether I like the film or not, or I walk through the plot and say what was dumb or not. I go into the acting, the direction, the cinematography, and the mechanics of making the film. And I can do this because, a long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, I was once an actor, so I can speak with a modicum of authority. Not as much as a modern working actor, I never want to give that impression, but with some authority. There's an old saying, those who can do, and those who can't teach. And I suppose, having been a instructor for a while, my reviews kind of come out a little bit like teaching. One thing I don't do is what's called outrage reviews. There are a lot of reviewers, on YouTube in particular, who are simply actors portraying outrage because they found out after The Last Jedi that outrage sells. They basically knee-jerk hate everything with a passion, and they bitch about it, and that's because their audience wants to see them bitch about it. But this causes a weird feedback loop between fans and popular reviewers, where it's just bitch, 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 until finally nobody can like anything, even if it's any good. Now, I don't do that. If I like something, I'll say why in detail. If I dislike it, I'll say why in detail. But I don't do outrage reviews. Unlike other reviewers, I am the adult in this room. So we just have to assume if you're coming at this live or watching it on demand, you're seeing a watch party for the stupid episode. I'll be having it running as we speak and go along here. We're in the latter, 10 or so minutes of American Ninja Warrior. Oh, boy, I've just been watching that. What a great lead-in show, I guess people are watching it. I don't know. I have too much of a critical eye for the show. But when it's over, we will actually have running live and probably bleeding out some into my audio feed. I'll be watching Batwoman, Season 1, Episode 19, A Secret Kept from All the Rest. And we'll see just how dumb it is this week, and whether it can top being as stupid as last week or the week before, or the week before that. Or the week before that. So the week before that. But we'll assume if you came for this, or if you're watching on demand after the show's over, you may have probably come to this looking for some kind of review or reaction. So that being the case, and because I happen to like the new card, I'm going to issue a
spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. All hands, prepare for incoming spoilers.
Yes, it is a spoiler alert, and that is because I am a Fandi Master, and that means that the fandom is strong with me, but that means that nothing is new, nothing is original, and at worst, you figure it out about a half an hour too early. This is not a boast or a brag, this is just where you find yourself after having watched, read, and listened to over 100 years worth of science fiction. You can't see this new stuff for the century that came before. You find out there isn't that much that's new in the world, and it tends to interfere with your ability to enjoy things. But you do not have to be a Fandi Master to know that Batwoman is in fact the modern-day Plan 9 from outer space, filled with nothing more than stupid SJW wokeness on steroids. So we just come here to laugh at it. What else is it good for? Certainly nothing that I can think of. It is bad for some things. You know, the production staff, and I talk about this from time to time, it's moving around some windows here so I can make sure I have things where I need them to be, so I can be looking to more or less directly at you while doing my, still doing the show. So, okay, move this stuff around, move this stuff in there, okay. And what can I do with you? Well, I guess I can make you smaller. That might work. As always, using nothing but free and open source software for the making of this show. And that includes OBS, the Open Broadcast Software. Very cool open source thing. Hang on a second. I neglected to turn off my blah, 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 blah. Okay, I shut off my alarms. But OBS is what I use in addition to the Brave web browser, which of course everyone should be using, and the crappy interface that that YouTube gives you that tends to lie to you about how good or bad your connection may or may not be. Usually, at least, it doesn't seem to lie to me about the number of viewers that I have, which I see there's a couple of you out there. Yay, hello, thanks for watching. Just waiting for Batwoman to finish up in the next 6 or 7 minutes, hopefully, or not Batwoman finish up rather, but American Ninja Warriors will finish up sometime in the next several minutes. We will have to see. And when I'm doing this, sadly, I can't put any of the video in this. You really, if you're going to do sort of reaction type videos, you got to really edit the crap out of them. So you're not going to hear that. You're not going to see any of the video. You will hear as much. I've got the audio kicked up as far as I can, so it should come in over the top of my microphone. However, you won't hear anything more than that, because I did try once where I put in an audio track as part of the from Batwoman on there and made it real low, and no, that wasn't enough. But I do just remember now I have to change the picture. Wild user, way the hell up. I have to change the picture on my 42-inch monitor here, because with Batwoman, if you do not increase your brightness by a good 25%, there's a statistical chance that you will not be able to follow a damn thing going on screen. So that's why I've got the thing turned. I have to turn my way up, and the contrast to go with it, and it just sucks. But it is showing results. I can now see what's going on this show where I couldn't see it before. And the other thing, had a viewer a week or so ago suggest putting on the subtitles. Yes, put on the subtitles, because Ruby Rose is not only a block of wood. She is a block of wood who never opens her mouth when she talks. She's always just talking with just her lips, and you can't understand what the hell she's saying. At least I can't half the time understand what she's saying. So having the subtitles on works really well. You can actually understand what she's saying all the time. That's very, very useful in terms of understanding the show. Not that it'll ever be anything other than just stupid. I mean, you can't have being gay as a literal get out of jail free card on a superhero show and, not be just swarming to death with stupid. And everything is stupid about this show. We'll have to see. I'm just waiting because I think it was last week or the week before, I guess, or something. I don't remember. But Jacob Kane showed up to talk to Beth or Alice, and they had this big thing where she was all on blaming him again. And you blamed everybody at some point or another in some episode. Your freaking motivation changes from episode to episode, and almost never have you hit on the right person to be blaming. You should be blaming people like, the stepmom and stuff like that. People who actually contributed to your being screwed up. The guy who kept you in a freaking dungeon for 12 years or whatever. There's somebody good to blame, But no, she insists on this last time blaming her father again. No reason to, but I'm just curious always to see how long is this particular motivation going to last. And the answer typically is not very damn long at all. So, oh gosh, American Ninja Warrior finishing up. If we got the volume turned up too much for my liking for this show, I'm going to drop it down again. Oh man, let's see. They got almost 2.5 minutes about until the show is going to, and they push it right to the end every single time. I always have to, because this is one of those things where I tell people it's hard to describe, but after you've been involved in something theatrically for a while, if it's long enough, and my being an actor, bad as I was long enough, to where you cannot turn off this eye you have for theatricality. So when you watch the show, I want you to pay attention to the background. Look what's in the background, not at the foreground. Look at the size of the number of people in the bleachers, right? Don't just take for granted because we got this really exciting voiceover artist and he's just going from one thing to another and one thing to another. Oh my God, what an amazing freaking thing this is. Don't pay attention to that. Don't pay attention to what they're showing you. Just, watch the backgrounds and see how small certain things are. How small is that number of people actually in real life? So, now we actually finished up American Ninja Warrior, and we've gone into what I assume is a local targeted ad for myself, because we've got a Medicare Part C ad. I'm not sure why, but, most people like me, B and D is good, Anyhow, here I am waiting through this last final basically 1 minute long commercial. I hate these. It's like one thing on YouTube, right? I mean, to begin with, I use the Brave web browser with what is it? Why am I blanking on it? Well, I use two things. I use the Brave web browser. I use what am I looking at? I can't remember the name now, but there's it's an ad blocker, uBlock Origin, and so with that you don't even see advertisements ever in your web browser. But on occasion, I have sat down to watch something on my phone, YouTube and stuff like that, and I can handle those ads, because all you have to do is pay zero attention to it. And when I get a Medicare ad, and I do, just pay zero attention to it, do something with it, and hit the thing as soon as you can hit it, get out of there. So I don't see these commercials, and when I do, it's usually fairly easy for me to get out of seeing them. Watching it now, oh man, here we are. And it's just endless. It's just endless. It's going to be another, 50 seconds-ish, 45, something like that. It's just going to go on and on and on and on. This is a warranty thing. Who the hell knows? And now we have... Okay, now we got the Supergirl promo for after this piece of junk. And I'll do a countdown here to when I'm actually... Okay, here's the Nebraska. And I'll be talking about Batwoman in... On my mark, Batwoman starts... Mark. Oh, hell, I have to reload the page and first opportunity. Oh, well. It's not like I was going to be understanding what Kate said anyway.
As soon as I get back to home.
That thing with the face is so dumb. It's just so dumb. It's so dumb. And somebody has.
My dad died to protect.
I never thought that Regan died. The $1 million
And
question.
somebody else pointed out, a different reviewer, but I thought it was very good. Look at how.
Lucius Fox wrote the entire journal in
Code. The way she's being presented, actually, whether you want to shame her about it or not, Kate's character is written as a slut. No, seriously. I mean, she hops into bed with just about anybody, just about any time, for any reason whatsoever. If you look at people she slept with, it's been spur of the moment, not something that's going to lead to a long-term relationship or anything like that. She's really kind of written as a slut. So. Oh, man. So let me guess. It's Mouse running around in the Tommy face as Hush. I'm just guessing. Just guessing. I bet let me know if I'm wrong here at the end. We'll find out. Oh, God, I'm really glad that I have my brightness turned up. I can tell how dark this would be otherwise. Regan. That was her name. That's the one that she hooked up with for about a week. She is not talking through her mouth again. Watch Reagan's mouth and watch Ruby Rose's mouth. You can see she's not opening her mouth at all when she talks. Go ahead, show us, Ruby.
I don't know.
See how close her mouth is? She's just talking with her mouth. She's not really moving her lips and her jaw at all. She's just talking through her lips.
It will sound worse than it is. Who do you work for?
Who you work for?
My sister Margot. You know her as Magpie.
Magpie, of course, yeah.
Magpie is your sister? Surprise. Why does she want to? It bought her freedom out of Arkham.
Who did she give it to?
I don't know. I don't ask for details for exactly this reason.
Well, guess who? Let's just guess, Kate. You have an arch nemesis locked up in Gotham. I wonder if maybe she could be behind it all.
Blonde chick with the British accent. She cornered me in a parking lot, put a knife to my throat, didn't stop to give a name.
Good evening, Janet. I heard you had quite the...
Yep, so every one of these girls that she's been slutting around with turns out to have something against her. I can't stand the being out of synchronization with my audio. It happens from time to time while I'm doing this, and so I'm watching on a web browser, so I have to reload it every once in a while. But it's a good thing that head mask of his never has any problems when he pulls it off. It's just amazing.
This is Maya. These 2 letters could be Babylonian.
I mean, if you want Kate dead so badly, why don't you just shoot her? I'm sure Tommy will give you the friends and family raid.
So the last thing she sees is his gauze pad and his gun and has no idea what's happening. No. Her betrayal deserves a reckoning.
Okay, so now she's going after her sister. Yeah, at least.
Before that Looney Tune decided to hold my new face hostage till he figure out what the hell this book says. So, glue a few brain cells together.
Okay.
My expertise is actually numerical analysis, iterative method. Please, just let me go. I don't tell anyone I was here.
So they're at Arkham Asylum. How did they get this guy to show up at Arkham Asylum?
She didn't even give him a chance.
Can we move on to my plan now?
No. We can't bring Luke Fox into this.
His father designed the code. It doesn't take a cryptologist to puzzle together.
A cryptologist?
The kid. Draw out the bat. It's already
A cryptologist?
other people.
It's sort of old Valley Girl way of talking. It always blows my mind that got into the public. People do that.
Meals a day.
I mean, just talk Valley Girl, and not ironically.
If we draw her out, we could lose everything.
Half the actresses in Hollywood are like that.
This book holds the key.
You can hear it in the inflections and glottal stops that appear. That's very weird.
Dead.
She wants her very, very dead. Well,
Honey, said that. I hate to see you friend.
you know,
He's number 1. You have 2 strikes.
I got a thought. If you really want Kate dead, here's what you do. You escape, you go to some place where she can easily find you, and when she walks in as Kate, as she will inevitably do, then you just shoot her full of bullets.
Or should I say, good morning, Gotham. After a show.
Oh God, no. Oh, it's Rachel Maddow, and the actual subtitle they said was hushed voice, hush or something, whatever her next line was, where she was supposed to be quiet because this is hush, which by the way was not a very good, in my opinion, not a very good storyline in the comics. It was again an issue of the freaking blind leading the blind, thinking that was going to be cool, and it wasn't really.
Did I do something wrong?
It was just kind of boring from my perspective.
You held a knife to her throat. Oh, please tell me you're not defending the woman who lured you into bed to pluck a book out from underneath your pillow. Why don't you just use your name?
Tell her with the crows.
I see. Reagan can't be trusted, and now no one can be trusted.
Not no one. Just people who have lied to me in the past, and last time I checked, that includes you.
Last time checked, that includes you.
Hey.
Turn on your subtitles, man, I'm telling you.
Hey. Didn't expect to see you here.
She was just leaving.
Commander called a briefing.
I should look and find out whether any of these people have say, I'm not sure that I've looked specifically for, but I wonder if any of them have experience with soap operas, because some of this is like acting in soap operas.
In searching the area, their security also discovered last night's kidnapping victim, Professor John Carr, dead in a dumpster.
Based on CCTV footage at Tri-Corner, we can confirm Kim was abducted by the same faceless perp that took Carr from the university. And apparently the press has already given him a nickname. Hush.
It's fine, Agent Kim.
Hush.
Homicidal bastard.
Giving him a new nickname. Hush. Yeah, again, wondering where Gotham City Police Department in this program. Why do we even have these crows? Why don't we just have the Gotham City Police Department? Why do we need these crows? Why?
Fall in love with you when she was really just a babysitter sent by Bruce Wayne.
There's a babysitter sent by Bruce Wayne because I can't talk, because I can't move my mouth. I just can only move my lips. I just barely move my lips a little bit.
Disagree with you now?
No, we're both being lied to.
I trust her, Kate.
I can't trust your judgment.
Says the girl who went home with the bartender and left the key to destroying Gotham on the nightstand.
Damn. You don't like how I do things.
Yeah?
Forcing you to be here.
You know what?
This is how we do things. We go sledding around and doing things that are going to get us killed or other people. Okay, that's how we do things. Get out. It's one of those deals where they're just clearly going to come down on the man for saying something frankly intelligent. Which was maybe if you hadn't been out sledding around, none of this would have happened because that's what she's been doing. All of the women that she slept with have been. It's been sex of a moment of opportunity. It isn't sex out of any great feeling behind it. Well, what do you call someone who does that all the time, whether they're male or female, or whether they're sleeping with men or women? Just saying. Oops.
In college, one of my friends had Professor Carr, at least until he had to have an emergency heart surgery.
Why is that car?
To replace him in the class meeting standing room. Sorry. I think. Yep. Dr. Carr taught cryptography 1 and 2. Codes. Just like the NSA.
Not in cryptography 1 and 2. Nothing like cryptography 1 and 2.
So you think this Hush guy is kidnapping code breakers because he has the journal?
Maybe I plan to break the code before I find him.
Then the same monster who shot up the
Yeah.
library.
I must be going to find him.
His weapons in Gotham.
Oh, man. Okay.
This episode of Batwoman.
Stop for commercials. Thank God. Okay. I guess, thank God, stop for commercials. There are so many commercials. It just, I say it every single time I do one of these. Because the commercials are just too freaking much. Here's a commercial, and then 10 minutes later, another. 10 minutes later, another. I mean, we're down to 35 to 40-minute episode lengths because of this. It is so many of them, and I'm not prepared for them because most of the entertainment that I get via other means, and I don't have any commercials ever, anywhere, any that I look at all, ever, period. I just don't have commercials. So when I keep seeing these over and over and over, oh my God, we have another Scooby-Doo movie, it looks like. This time CGI. Wonder how bad they'll make it. Oh, that's going to be a TV series? Oh, it'll be good. But see how badly they frack it up. Somehow they just can't avoid that. You can get any kind of modern creator, producer, whatever. They'll get their hands on an older property. Doesn't matter what it is. And they'll say, we can't just, kind of update this a little bit and bring it forward. We have to completely turn it on its head and screw up the stuff that was any good in it by blowing it all, usually by blowing it all completely out of proportion. It was just something that was minor back then, and now they take and blow it out of proportion with their remakes or reboots or C-boots or Swee-boots. Who the hell even knows? These clearly have zero ideas left. Anyhow, I suspect that's what that Scooby-Doo is going to be. They'll take something small, blow it completely out of proportion, and then it'll be what the show is all about. They can't get this. I mean, sure, you can even see it when they've done it themselves. I mean, Scrappy-Doo. That was something that I think Hanna-Barbera invented, because they wanted to keep what was starting to go sort of downhill as a property alive a little longer. So they said, let's throw in youth and diversity. And so they got the youth, and the diversity was, this guy had sort of a, kind of Bronx accent, maybe, kind of in a way. So, youth and diversity. Because what youth and diversity they had, they thought they couldn't do it anymore. Okay, well, let's see. We got another thing here for... Oh, wait, is something happening with Batwoman on the Supergirl episode? I saw her flash by the screen. Well, I don't know. And back to Batwoman. There we go.
Agent Kim, hi. I was hoping to employ your services.
So wait, they're grabbing all these people and dragging them back to Arkham Asylum, putting a freaking electroshock thing on their heads, killing them in some or many cases.
He was hired to protect our
And nobody
More than 90 minutes to figure it out.
nobody is.
thank you.
Oh God! And the acting being done by what's his name inside of the bandages.
The more we risk exposure. And you realize none of this is real, right?
I mean, look, he can't use his face in any way.
Dress up and
He can barely see sort of his lips moving behind that mask, and so instead he's using all kinds of big stuff with his hands and, moving his head, and it's just he's a little better in the close-ups. He knows that he can't go crazy there.
You'll just have to find me somewhere.
Guess
every codebreaker in the city is on lockdown because of him.
another guy we wouldn't be able to stand with.
You are such a dork. My mom is now obsessed with that show thanks to you.
She should be, because she understands cultural
My
Wait,
mom thinks culture
is-
is getting with it. Oh my god.
Is this the girl who was gay? I don't remember now.
According to the Gazette, Carr's body was
The one who got the literal get out of get jail free card? That could be.
poor Professor Carr, like he hadn't been through enough.
Means there's a high school girl.
Heart surgery.
Either way, it seems like there's a high school girl who can break a code put together by somebody like Lucius Fox.
The pacemaker is totally traceable.
Exactly.
Pacemaker is totally
Based on
traceable.
where it transmitted its last signal, and then we'll know where he died, and then we'll find Hush. That's genius.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So,
Okay.
yeah, right.
So trace it.
So how?
You don't know?
Kind of a weird thing.
Maybe it's time to apologize.
Oh God, here we get the part where we go. All the CWs do every single time they get in the middle of something, go pull the brakes back, and I just watch for 20, 30 seconds.
Gotham Pride Real Estate.
Is Kate Kane there?
Who is this?
My name's Gina. I'm Parker Teresa's girlfriend, and she said she knew you.
Okay, yep. Hi.
So I don't know what happened, but we were FaceTiming, and then the phone started shaking, and then she screamed to call you, but then it went dead, and the last place she showed up on Find My Friends was in Somerset, and now I'm freaking out.
Is Parker Torres?
Yeah, I think Parker Torres must be that girl who got off from doing anything remotely like jail time because she was gay.
Are you supposed to say hush?
No offense, but I've been kidnapped by worse, and I know if you haven't killed me yet, it means you can't kill me.
Okay, Kate, this is Mary. Oh, wait. Are we allowed to use our real names?
Oh God.
I'm in Somerset.
Okay, there's a van going south on the Williams Viaduct. It just triggered 3 speed trap cameras.
Probably him. I'm heading north.
I don't know if that's a good idea. Let me zoom in real quick. God, how do you... Is there a manual? Okay. Hello? Can you still hear me? I think you're driving the wrong way on a one-way. Kate! You're going the wrong way!
How would she even know that? I guess. Well, you know what? I think Kate can figure out when she's driving the wrong way on a one-way and be relatively easy to ascertain fairly quickly on, as it is now. Batwoman. Oh my God.
Wants to be a hoodlum.
Yeah, I could have saw that. I mean, you're gonna play chicken with a motorcycle. All right, we've seen this stupid little maneuver work once before on a elevated train, and now fortunately Batwoman is in bulletproof because, unlike Bruce, who was not bulletproof for most of his existence, she'd have been dead in the first episode. Okay, more commercials. Oh God, more commercials. What time is it? It is. God, we said so. I guess we had one at the 10-minute mark. Now we got another one at the 20. just almost the 20, but then there'll be another one at the 30, and the 30 one will be longer because it'll have the national commercials in addition to the local commercials, which the 10s and the 20s have. Oh, God. I tell you, though, you really should be watching this show with the brightness kicked up 25% and the subtitles on. If you don't have the subtitles on, you will be missing dialogue, mostly Kate's dialogue, because when you got somebody who doesn't open her mouth and only talks by moving her lips and tries to emote just by using her lips, well, you can't understand a word she says. Suggestion by one of my viewers a couple of weeks back. Do that. Yeah, that really makes a difference. Makes a huge difference. Oh, God. And now they're advertising Amazon Prime. Hey, got to tell you, the only place, and I'm not being paid by them. By the way, guys, if you want to, contact me about paying me, I'm all for it. But they're not paying me right now. The only streaming service that I have any kind of affiliation with, I have a monthly with our good friends at Hulu. The reason I have Hulu is because, of course, that's where they've gone with the Orville. I want to support the Orville, so that's why I'm over there. I have no other accounts with streaming services, and somehow yet I can still find my any entertainment that I want completely free of charge. No cash whatsoever. I just have the one because I want to support Hulu and the Orville. The rest of them I don't have any kind of attachment to, and Hulu is not paying me for this, although I'm not against taking money. Hey, Larry, how are you doing tonight? Getting through the second round of commercials that started at about the 20-minute mark. Oh. And we have the person who is playing Hush. I guess it's Tommy Stills, just no face. How does he... does he actually think that Alice is going to put his face back on surgically? There's no indication she can do this. And a number of people, they seem to be taking over to Arkham Asylum, for like interrogation and death, essentially. Wouldn't somebody notice this? When you're driving in with, somebody's unconscious because you have to come in with them. Then somebody notice you going and taking the unconscious person over to the lab with the electroshock stuff in it, which, by the way, they never do. Using electroshock therapy as frequently as they do would be something that would be a rather big scandal. They'd probably get, lose their license to operate. They just don't do that kind of thing with electroshock therapy anymore. So they keep electroshock therapying these guys in these chairs in their own laboratories or wherever it is, or treatment rooms or whatever. And nobody around notices. Nobody notices that the people that they're dragging in, eventually killing, are not showing up for work the next day. There's not 50 million missing persons reports about all the people they've been doing this to. Because it's not just these two. They're apparently running, a whole face gang thing from inside Arkham Asylum. Oh. I guess this is Batwoman on again? No, this is still a commercial, thank God, for Roswell, New Mexico. I'm getting old enough that the stuff that they are rebooting is not that old to me. Back to Batwoman.
Oh, hello, Parker.
Welcome.
Thank you for joining us.
I'm a team. Thanks.
We get it, Alice.
Do you? Because you couldn't handle a teenage schoolgirl.
Well, Batwoman showed. I have to fail. What do you mean, Batwoman showed? Were you followed? Well, I sort of stopped thinking clearly when she threw a batarang in my leg.
Boy, all the more reason to are dead. Now, I have met disappointment twice. Are we finally ready to do things my way? Got a jet. We got a possible hush sighting on the Williams Viaduct. Got it.
Possible hush say
You go ahead.
Williams
Yeah,
dialect.
copy.
Uh-oh, I think they're about to pull all the action to a complete halt. When they were to go out and going out and at least thinking about going out and running something, we had to grind to a halt here.
Pretty sure I can say the same thing about you.
Why isn't...
MG. To full disclosure, I thought Batcave was a metaphor. I'd be like,
Yeah, it must be that girl who got off doing nothing but volunteer community service after trying to kill 400 people or so. The credit card fraud to the tune of posting the mayor's credit card information on social media, and then attempted to murder an entire room, gymnasium full of kids there for a band, not a band, some kind of dance. The only reason they're not dead is because Batwoman saved the day. And so this girl gets off with community service. Not actually going through the criminal justice system, but because Batwoman finds out she's gay, she says, go to Kate Kane, she'll tell you what to do, and from there she does a couple 130 hours of community service for all of that. No thanks. It's dumb. Oh, back to the show.
Hello?
Hey, where are you?
Wilson Plaza. I have close headquarters. What phone are you using?
Stay there. I'll find you.
Okay. Kate's on her way down. So, are you gonna tell her, or am I?
Ballistics matched these rounds to the library crime scene. Same .45 caliber pistol. It was Hush.
And he wasn't alone. We're lucky there wasn't much traffic on that bridge. We'll be bagging a lot more than batarangs.
Sir, I don't want to fight with you about Batwoman's intentions.
My fight's not with you. But I also don't want to wait around to find out which mess freak is going to get more people killed.
I'm bloody serious, Luke. Kate can't...
Well, I'm guessing actually it's going to be the crows that get more people killed.
She was right about everything.
Not everything, okay? There's stuff about Kate you don't know.
Are you here already?
What are you talking about?
What do you mean, what am I talking?
All right, because that dude can do perfect voices. Yeah.
You're going to decipher Daddy's code, or we will fry this little cutie like bacon.
There's no way. My dad was a genius. Legitimately. Ms. 163 IQ. It would take a team of codebreakers weeks, months to crack this.
Sadly, I don't think he's going to give you that long.
God. There he is in the background going like this. It's it's a sort of a trick. It's a going back to the well sort of trick where you go, oh, okay, I can't, you can't see my face at all. It's just covered with this. Got to act in different ways. She's choosing to act with his hands a lot, I'm noticing. So there's a thing where you can get us. Now, what you have to remember is when you're doing a shot like that, where they had somebody in close up right here, and he's actually off in the background. Let me see if I can do that so that you can see. He's in the foreground here. They have somebody else in the foreground here. He was in the background here over here, right? And so in order to be in the shot at all, you have to be positioned such that your face is going to be visible, and in case just a bunch of facial stuff. So what he's done is figured out where it was that the lower level of the camera would be catching him on the shot, where his hands would be. And then he was going like this, right? It was just a little bit kind of in front of his face like this. That's because that was the lowest he could get his hands down from his face and still have them appear in the shot. I always like to point out, nothing that you see here is, theater is planned, rehearsed, spontaneity. This is all planned. This is all rehearsed. You don't even get a little thing like this without the actor, or maybe the director said, we want you to use your hands. Make sure they're up here so you can use them. Or maybe the actor said, I've chosen to use my hands because I can't act with my face. What's the lowest level? And he worked with the cameraman for a second. Okay, right about there. That's how low you can get it. So all of this stuff does not happen by accident. Even when you get a little shot like that, it's just with one person, another one in the background is doing something. The something that they do has to be limited to a very generally small space. When you're doing a close-up like that with somebody in the background, it's generally a very small space that you have to work with. Like right now, right? If I start moving my hands around, unless I bring them up to here, if I'm down here, you won't even know what I'm doing with my hands. Am I moving my hands? Am I flipping you off? What am I doing? You have no idea. I have to get my hands up this high before you can actually see them. I've actually sort of trained myself to do that when I'm doing this. This is one of the things I don't mind talking about, the theatrical aspects of doing a show like this. I have trained myself so that if I'm planning to do it, we're not even planning, but if my hands come up to do some talking with my hands, they come up to about this level. And there's another part of my brain that's watching over the corner, in the corner of my eye where I've got this is what? Oh, this is a commercial for something else. This will be kind of interesting. The Stargirl series. I'm curious about that, how that's going to run, considering that's going to have the Justice Society and Injustice Society in it.
New series, Tuesday, May 19th on the CW.
We'll see how it goes. May 19th. When is that? And back to the Batwoman.
That's great. His phone is off. Something's up. He might be mad at me, but he wouldn't
19. Okay. Week from Tuesday.
No, it's Sophie in the elevator. Should I invite her down here? Since apparently everyone else is allowed? Good talk.
Yeah, that's generally what everybody said when she let her get off with attempted murder of hundreds of people. And
Sophie, hey.
Yeah.
You okay? Honestly, trying to rein in a little panic. Not to make this awkward or whatever. But have you seen Julia? She's MIA.
Who's the babe? Way off limits. It's Kate's ex.
Of course she is. Who's Julia?
Her other ex.
Oh, okay, Ruth. I heard you two were hanging out.
Julia and me?
see, even they think that Kate's a slut.
You can see that? Is that okay?
No, it's not okay.
This is torture.
Because if it's not,
It's not for the audience. It's torture for the audience only in as much as we can't stand to watch this happening at all. Because it's dumb and she's a block of wood.
Here.
So these two girls are supposed to be us, right? They're supposed to be how we're reacting. None of us are reacting that way. Nobody's going, oh, I'm so emotionally invested in this. Tell her you love her and all that. No, trust me, nobody cares that much.
Nope, not yet. Still alive for now. Oh, you are a tough one, lass. Arkham's power bills are going to be through the roof. But just between me, you, and, well, science, I'm not sure how much more you can take.
I've had worse.
Not yet. But you will, if the human abacus over here doesn't show me how the cipher works.
How do you expect me to concentrate?
Yeah, having him someplace where she's just screaming all the time doesn't sound like a really conducive way to get to somebody to work.
Oh, and show me your work, Mr. Fox, because if you're lying, I'm going to turn Blondie into a glow stick.
You can do this, right?
No, babe. You're a dead woman, so nah.
I need more time. I need my dad.
Luke, you are every bit as smart as your father.
No, I'm not.
This is another one of those ones where we have to be told these things rather than seeing them, because I would not have seen anything so far on this show that would indicate to me that he's particularly a genius. He's head of security and he's very bad at his job. It's dumb.
I don't understand why we're keeping Tommy alive.
Because he spent the last decade looking for ways to kill Batman. He managed to steal the railgun from Wayne R&D before my sister pilfered it. Maybe he'll know where we can find whatever weapon we glean from this journal. And then we'll kill him.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's Batwoman. What am I thinking?
Is right on the verge of a real breakthrough.
Get him, Doc.
Somebody's just...
Of course, hashtag Luke. His dad wrote the journals. Anything? I can't get a ping on either of their phones.
You want running a trace from Professor Carr's pacemaker?
Yeah, maybe, but not from this.
What about that? That looks older than my mom. Sure you don't have anything more modern, like a
Sundial?
Sorry, why does this rando team get to know your Batwoman?
Let me see what I can do.
They have Luke bound to the chair with something that's like a leather weight belt, you know?
Hundreds in multiple languages and alphabets.
Well, can you work out the sequence?
So far I got A corresponds with Heth, the first letter of the Aramaic alphabet, which is alphabetically the first of the other alphabets my dad used. B takes us to the Babylonian alphabet, the next alphabetically.
That's bloody brilliant. Can't you slide one letter at a time?
No, I tried that. That would be way too easy for my dad. There's an interval variance each time he switches to a new alphabet. Now, if I could figure out the number sequence for the intervals, then I'd have the key to decrypt this.
That leaves us 10 minutes to work out a few billion random number sequences.
Except my dad was meticulous. It would never be random.
It'd be personal to him.
Personal to me.
Yeah, okay, wait, this is something that's supposed to be used to take down Batman.
The third fight.
And
He used my social security number.
why would you make it this difficult? If you need to take down Batman, you probably need to do it right away. And you know, this thing he's got going here ensures that if they have a problem and he's killed, then they'll never be able to do it. Because who in the world would ever think to do all this stuff? I mean, in real life, multiple ancient dead languages, and
Kill the 2 John cars that aren't already dead, so yeah, no pressure.
Anything I can do to help?
Can you bypass the data throttle and get me more speed out of this heap?
Nope.
Then I'll settle for you not distracting me.
I think we're setting something up here. At some point, Luke is going to become Batwing, as he is in the comics, and this will require somebody else, Brainy, to run the brainy side of the outfit.
Glasses. It's the glasses. You can translate the journals. Try.
I see lots of people who are going to be freeze framing that thing to see exactly what it says.
You did it. Didn't you? You know what it says?
Yeah.
Why aren't you happier about this? You did it! What does it say?
Something that I can't tell anyone. Most of all, Gotham's least mentally stable villain. I'm sorry.
Time's up. Pencils down now. Read to me from my new favorite bedtime story.
We're not telling you. She speak for both of you.
My father was willing to die for the secret. And we're willing to do the same.
And off to the next commercials. Commercials, endless fracking commercials. And my audio is disengaged now, out of sync with the video on this stupid show, so I'll do that and reload it. Not that it matters. Without the subtitles, I would not be able to understand anything that Ruby Rose says, and there are other characters as well who suffer from this problem. Amazing. Let's see, we're at the 40-minute mark. We must have missed one that I didn't notice. Oh boy, now they're doing a commercial for episode 9. Star Wars episode 9. I saw it once and I didn't pay for it. Did anybody actually really, like that film? Because my own opinion of it was, well, okay, they did lots of retconning. I did a review at the time. They did lots of retconning so that they could bring back some of what J.J. Abrams wanted to do, but that Ruin Johnson had screwed over and made it so he couldn't do. To me, it looked like he'd taken two movies and stuck them together into one. I think there was a movie that should have ended at the point at which they thought they had lost Chewie. I think that's where Abrams would have done his episode, his second episode. Would have been his first episode. Next one would have started up more or less after that, and it would end when it looked like they had lost Chewie. And then a third episode would start there. And it would have been a shorter, slower paced thing, but because he had to do everything he had to do to get rid of what Ruin Johnson had left him with, then that meant that, he had to shove a lot of stuff into a very 2-hour period-ish, unfortunately. Probably helpful if I have something to drink through this. Oh, gosh. Lots of CW. Oh, okay. And here's Katie Osborne with EnduranceWarranty.com. Oh, man. What is the resolution looking like on this? Because it's really terrible looking at her. Can't see a thing. Oh well. It's got a really, really low definition advertisement. It's like under 720p. Oh, God. At least we're coming up on 15 minutes until this stupid show is over. I'm just, the whole notion of what Alice is doing now, right, which is essentially running the same kind of operation that she had, but she's running it out of Arkham Asylum. That doesn't make any damn sense. It just doesn't make any sense at all. I bet I don't even have to say anything about it. How dumb is it to me that she can still run a criminal organization out of Arkham Asylum using generally current inmates? No. All right. Well, okay. What are we back from here? Yes, we're back to Batwoman.
Stopped working. Here, Professor Carr's heartbeat from last time.
Is that Arkham?
Alice is behind this somehow. Regan sold the journal to get Magpie out of Arkham. That's who she bought her freedom from.
Not to state the obvious, but
Wow, I wouldn't have understood that at all. What's Red Bead
Being
Runner?
captive is a way of life for her. You know how Carr had burn marks on his body? I think I know she's torturing her victims.
Remember somebody? I think it's Church Victims.
she usually doesn't post what she's thinking. So cool.
There we are. I think it was Clark Street in Chicago. So now she's beating up. Sorry, guys. Didn't want to do that. Not that sorry, obviously.
Batwoman just took out a pair of guards at Arkham. We're still running up the perp from the last breakout. I want all available teams getting a handle on this. Now!
Okay, well.
I could do this all day.
I can do this all day. Well, just like Captain America, I guess.
Ooh, toasty. Now, tell me what Daddy had to say.
Do you not get it, Alice? You're the reason there's a code in the first place.
And you're the reason Alfie Pennyworth has to go casket shot.
Let them go.
I'm sorry. Who are you?
All the torture therapy at the door didn't hear his mess with the old noggin. I said let them go.
Daddy? You're outnumbered, and sadly, we don't do demands.
Have a second drop of truth. I'll be right with you there.
These are Lucius Fox's glasses. They unlock the code.
No.
Let Luke and Julia go. And they're yours.
You cannot do this.
If I don't, she will kill you.
And she'll kill you! The book doesn't contain bad weapon designs. It contains the secret to killing you.
Yeah, well, killing you, that's simple. Shoot him in the face. Okay, so you got armor over here. Let's even assume you have it on your head. Shoot him in the face. What did she do? She did something. You know, she did something. She had to do something. So I'm going to have to go take a look at that now myself. I want to know what that said, because when I was reading a couple of lines there, quickly, it didn't look like it said anything like what he was talking about.
These are the tunnels. Get her out of here.
Where are you going?
To stop Alice and get the book back.
Stop out, get the book back. Talk with you again. Never understand anything he said wasn't for the.
What did they do now?
Oh, we gotta get out of this place. Our cover's blown.
Get the van, pull to the side lot by the air fence.
Aha! I knew it wouldn't be long before she escaped. They're going to escape this episode. It will have been, what, 2 or 3 that she was actually in Arkham before she escaped, and half of Arkham is coming with her.
It was all very well and good while it lasted, my dear Pebs.
Please, don't.
Oh, she's letting everyone go. Wonder if there'll be anybody we actually notice. I certainly hope not. Killing the Joker off screen was not good. Look it over here while we... Oh, we went slow-mo for a second. Yikes. Is anybody else catching the fact that she's not actually hitting anybody with that staff? Wow. See, when you do it in slow-mo, it looks really unreal. But again, I have my brightness kicked up by 25% to be able to see this damn thing at all.
It does matter. We built a life for us here.
It's over, Mouse. We've been exposed.
Telling the cops to get out now. Okay. The guards, rather. I thought that's exactly what they're not supposed to do.
Too late. It's World War III event. Walk it all down. And find me the bat.
Okay, into the next series of freaking commercials that go on forever. Drop True says, "Hey, Bill, is a 120-pound Ruby Rose mythically beating up men more than twice her size with ease yet?" Oh, of course she is. Because she's actually, I think she's less than 120 pounds, I think. But whatever she is, yeah, she's always playing around with very accommodating stuntmen. You don't have to worry, wait until far into the episode to get to it. Has Alice, a proven killer, been arrested and tried yet? Well, in point of fact, a couple of 3 weeks ago, they did finally the smart thing, which was arrange for her to be put into Arkham Asylum. Since then, she has been running some sort of criminal enterprise out of Arkham Asylum that includes routinely kidnapping people, bringing them in, and under the care of Mouse with the mask on, acting like he's the head of the hospital, they will electroshock these guys until someone figures out what Lucius Fox's diary says. Yeah. It's just stupid from the get-go, and you wonder what... Then you realize it's Batwoman, so... Crocker Clayface, if they got the CGI budget for that, they've got the CGI budget for that. It's just that there are some stuff. You know, the reason that you tend to see this stuff happening around iconic DC characters is they won't let them touch the iconic DC characters. They want to keep those for the movies. So, you know, until fairly recently, Superman wasn't going to have anything like his own TV show. I think he's got one now coming up next season on CW. But we didn't really get Batman. We got Gotham. We're not really getting Batman here. We're getting Batwoman. It's these characters, ancillary characters, that tend to float around the orbit of these main characters that we're seeing. Even Supergirl, right? That's not exactly a main character. You know, for the longest time in DC, she was a supporting backup character for Superman. You know, similarly, even Green Arrow. Green Arrow was considered. Somebody got cutesy and gave Batman a suit that looked like something out of the Robin Hood. You know, he got the Archer, but he's got the same kind of backstory with, you know, a giant amount of money. He used to drive around in the Arrow car, have an aeroplane at the same time the Batman had a bat car and a bat plane and all that. So even he was a secondary character. And the Flash wasn't so much. I was a little surprised that they got the Flash, but mostly they've been dealing with ancillary characters. Another Superman series, I think it's something having to do with the fact that they have a kid. I'm not sure.
You messed up today, okay? I'm not worth the death of Batwoman. I'm not worth seeing hundreds upon thousands of citizens lose hope as a result of whatever insane plan Alice is formulating. I am not worth all the lives that can be...
Why? Why do all these citizens supposedly going to lose all their hope over this? Why? This woman, we've barely seen her do anything other than just within her own selfish self-interest.
Good.
Sorry. I'm gonna go. Thank you for your help today. Not that you're gonna take advice from a rando teen, but Sophie, maybe fight a little harder. We'll see.
There's a kind of smirk. The only thing she can get. Oh. And now the people that she's been slutting around with.
Mary thinks I'll heal eventually. Sima, I'm glad you're okay. Me too.
Okay. Oh, good. We have Kate watching Sophie and the British girl sucking face. Awesome. Awesome. Oh, boy. And, of course, Kate is dressed in oversized clothes like a guy so that it doesn't notice how freaking skinny she is.
I know you're lying about why you're after a book that describes how to kill me. The rifle showed up in Gotham to assassinate you several months ago. I helped thwart him, and he disappeared.
Yeah, I remember that episode. You killed him?
Because I followed him to his boss and made a deal with her to stop pursuing you. In exchange for your life, I'd fetch her the journal, and we'd both be on our merry way. If she had the journal, she could still kill me. She played me. I didn't know what the journal entailed till today. Now that I do, the deal's off. Where's she?
Where's she? Where's she? I assume Sophia Sahale has got to be some kind of villainess from the comics that I don't know. But that name sounded way too creative to have ever come out of these idiots. Hang on a second, drop of truth. So wait, the crows use the
It's a mess. Psychotic escapees are all over the city right now, thanks to you.
Thanks to Alice. She had the entire asylum.
Alice isn't the one claiming to be the city's hero. She needs you as much as you need her. Joker had Batman like she has you, and guess who always ends up as collateral damage?
I will protect my city.
No, you won't. Because you're done. Get out.
No, I won't leave.
Let this serve as your warning. I see you again. It's war.
It's war. What is that smirk on her face underneath the mask? So she can't do the smirk because of the mask, so it looks weird.
This isn't a shelter, Alice. This is back to where we started.
No one's forcing you to stay.
I told you that inviting Luke into your obsession would draw out the bat, and now here we are, freezing, wet, drenched in sewer water.
And I told you that Luke would bring us the answers that we need, so I suppose we're both right.
I was happy, Alice. I was happy.
You were happy pretending to be
What happened to you?
a psychiatrist or something.
Do you even care that you burnt the whole thing down?
I care about killing the bat. So go bring
that rocking facial gone wrong so he can tell me where to find a little green rock called kryptonite.
Oh, why do I foresee a Supergirl crossover somewhere in the making? Let's take a look at this next week.
But I was wrong.
What are you doing? I promised you more. This is what it looks like.
Wow, season finale next week. Really?
This is Melissa Benoist.
That's weird. Now I have to check something. Let me see. Batwoman IMDb. It's one of the favorite searches I do from time to time. Because I thought there were 23 episodes. Yes, there's an episode guide for 23 episodes on... so let's go down to where we are already. Yeah. If we're going to end next week, that'll be 2 episodes early. Well, maybe that's a good sign. I don't know. Let me go look and see what's being said here that I ignored while I was... another Superman series. Not exactly. I'm not exactly sure what's going on there. I haven't paid that much attention to it. If there is a Superman series of any kind, I'll be watching it. Do I think the writers of the schlock get a bonus every time they introduce a pro-SJW narrative? No, it's just by being written by idiot SJWs, so this is what they come up with. This is, they think everything has to be some kind of statement about something. SJWE. The music sounds dreadful. Well, most of the music is some sort of pop music from past or present. I really don't know most of the time. I haven't paid any attention to pop music since forever. To me, it's like, okay, well, it fits as well as anything would, I guess, when it's, the pop culture music. Doesn't jump out as me as being horrible. Same deal with the score music that comes out here. It never really jumps out at me as being wrong, just kind of boring, Go watch Humans Season 1 to Season 3 to desensitize yourself to this nonsense. Oh, okay, I'll take a look. Much better than Westworld, which ended badly. No surprises there. Have to take a look. Humans, I think I've started at least part of that at some point. I haven't watched the whole thing. Has the illegal clinic of her stepsister been shut down yet? No, she is still running her illegal, unsanitary clinic that she has no license to practice medicine with. It's what's going to happen. I'm dead certain what's going to happen is that thing is going to start taking a back seat, because we have been working up through most of the season to Batwoman getting her crew. Because all of these CW shows, they all do the same thing. The main character has a crew. And so this has been getting her crew. Now that she has the medical person, who is, going to be working on her medically, like now directly knowing her secret identity, she can just call her and say, I'm at the cave. I got shot really badly. I think I need you to come up. And then that'll be what's happening. So we'll start to see less and less of that clinic in favor of moving over towards Mary being easily available. If I were asked to do so, how would I have written Batwoman? That is a damned good question. The thing about this character is she's not very an organically grown character. You got Superman, you got Batman, and the people that surround them are sort of organically grown over a period of time. You start out, Superman and Batman had some, specific things that they could do, but it grew more over time as their mythos grew. Batwoman originally started, the reason the character got started in the first place was because it was the 50s and they were having trouble with various people saying, oh, Batman is homosexual, Robin is homosexual, it's destroying children's minds. And so in order to get around that, I believe they told Bill Finger and Bob Kane, you guys got to come up with a female character. And it's got to be some kind of, bat-related female character that is constantly going after Batman all the time, so we can get this stuff about him being gay. We got to make sure that he's got a case of the not gays. So that's why that character was created in the first place. Over the years, she's been recreated several times to the point where there is a version of her now running around out there that is a gay woman. But again, this was not an organically grown sort of character. They looked around and they said, what character that nobody ever uses anymore can we come up with to make our SJW message? And they looked around and they said, oh, Batwoman. That was a dumb and it was kind of a dumb character to start with. There solely so that she could make Batman look heterosexual. So they took her and they said, okay, well, what can we do with her? And again, it's not a very organically grown character. If it were me, I'm not even sure I'd touch it. I'd prefer to go with Batgirl. I think that makes... Going with Batgirl makes a little more sense. I can think of a lot of directions to take her. I probably wouldn't have done Batwoman at all. If they'd said, we want you to do Batwoman, I would have said, why? This is a character that has never worked real well. Even right now, they're still producing her, but nobody's buying them that I'm aware of. So I'm not sure I would have done the character at all. If you forced me to, if you said to me, okay, Bill, we're going to tie you down to a chair and require you to do this show. Well, I'd have done everything differently. I would have stayed away completely from any villains ever shown in the comics. That is, for me, sort of a general rule of thumb. If you're working on a comic book or anything else, stay away from the characters that have already been used, like the big-name ones. Just stay away from them. Come up with something on your own. I'm not sure what I would have done with Batwoman on my own, but one thing I know I would do is I would start out with some rules. Don't touch anything that happens in the comics ever. Come up with your own original bad guys. Make the comics catch up with you instead of the other way around, which happens. Again, I'm not sure what I'd done with Batwoman. I would have made it very different. Don't think I could have cast Ruby Rose. She's not physically imposing enough to, but I don't know. Let's see. Drop a tooth. Surely a Batgirl series would have been better. At least we know a lot more about her. Yeah. Well, again, Batgirl did not exactly start out as a character that was organically grown out of the group. The first Batgirl out there was a child partner to the Batwoman I just described. And part of her deal was that she was supposed to be hitting on Robin all the time. So that Batgirl kind of came and went along with that Batwoman. They were not used very frequently and not very often for decades. And so you come back around to her today, and we had what happened with the Batgirl in the Batman TV series in the 60s, where they introduced Batgirl and said, wow, the DC said, that is a damn good character, let's introduce ourselves. And did a lot more detail in terms of her backstory and all of that. But with Batgirl, you start to get into the possibility, at least, of some of the Batman rogues gallery, that he's got, because she did fight some of them. And you get into, other superheroes. Again, if I'm doing it on TV, my main rule is do not do anything that's ever been done in the comics, period. Figure out a way to do it that's not, that maintains, it still stays with the basis of what the character is. But at the same time, we say, we've already seen all this other stuff before. We've seen it several times, the way that these idiots in comics work. We see a story in the Silver or Golden Age. They rewrite it for the Silver Age. Rewrite it for the Bronze Age. Rewrite it for the Modern Age. Rewrite it, all the same stuff over and over. My rule is never touch it. Come up with brand new characters as bad guys for these. Make comics play catch up. My most favorite and least favorite Batman film. I have a weird deal for that in terms of the way that goes. In general, my favorite Batman movie of all time is going to be Tim Burton's 1989 Batman. I thought that was a very good Batman movie. It was, just at the time that we were beginning to say, hey, we need to make him into Iron Batman. And so, but even then, the armor that he's got is nothing like, the sort of Iron Batman look that he's gotten into lately. Batman is, when best, is the world's greatest detective. And he doesn't go around in an armored costume. He just goes around in a cloth costume of some kind. In point of fact, when I'm done, I'll put it on as part of the description. Let me see if I can find it. There is a really good web series that just finally finished its 6th episode after I don't know how long. Shadow of the Bat, maybe? No, that's not it. Let's see here. If I can do a Batman fan film, because there are some really good fan films out there. There's one that I think is really, really good. God, I'm not finding it. There's a question one that's fun. Well, the one that I'm thinking about here, I'll see if I can find it. I'll put it in my description after I'm done. But it is Batman set in the 1940s, or not late 1930s. Really very cool. Live action, 6 episodes, about half an hour each, done in the style of the movie serials of that era, but a lot more serious than the movie serials of that era that's aiming more at adults. And it also uses real amazing film noir kind of techniques. It's shot in black and white. The shadows and stuff, if you know film noir, it's very much a film noir movie, and that's really what Batman ought to be. He does some stuff that are detective things, and that move the plot forward, and some other stuff happens, but basically he is the world's greatest detective, and that's what Batman should be. That's what I would do for a Batman TV series, and what I would like to see as my favorite. But beyond that, my favorite film in general is the Tim Burton one. I also have a special place in my heart for the first of the 1940s ones. Not because they're very good, because they're not for the most part. They aren't even good children's fare at the time. There's much better stuff out there you can see. But if I was going to do it, I would like to see something like this guy who's done the Batman fan film. I'd like to see something like that where it happens in the 1930s. I think that's a really interesting way to go with the character. Well, hell, I'm not finding it here. Anyhow, I'll find it and I'll put a link in my description box when I'm done. Because it's really a very cool one. My least favorite one, I don't even remember for sure which one of the two it is. It's one of those two, either Batman and Robin or something like that. One of the Robin ones, it's just terrible. It's the one with Clayface and the Riddler, and not Clayface, but Two-Face, the Riddler, and a couple of other people, and it's just, it's terrible. I thought it was horrifyingly bad. How about a Batmite TV series? Well, Batmite, that could be interesting. As long as you say, this is just amusing. This is all comedy. This isn't anything. We're not going to write anything here where, these characters are going around where Batmite goes around killing people. Might use something where we get a real Batman type case as a springboard, but then Batman's gone pretty quickly. Just so we can do funny things with that character. It could work. Drop Sue's Batman 1940s, maybe a Will Eisner or Alex Toth aspect. No, I've forgotten what this one is. And there's another one that I will find that this one is really just, take Batman and put him back into his roots in like 1939 when he first showed up. And that's kind of what they're doing here. They've got, God, I wish I could find it. There's also Dark Knight Returns, by the way. A fan has put together 45 minutes worth of, it's adapted from issue 1 from Dark Knight Returns. I'll put that one in here because I'm finding that immediately. If you look that up on YouTube, I'll watch that one. That is really good. It's a really good adaptation of the Dark Knight Returns. It's very, very good. Hey, Shadow Man, how are you doing? You say, I'm so tired of every Batman movie having a different Batman, a different Batmobile, different suit, etc. Yeah. It's one of the reasons that I have a safe spot, a soft spot in my heart for those 1940s Batman serials. Because they just had a car. You know, it wasn't anything crazy. And that's what it was first in the comics, too. It was just an expensive sort of sports car. It was just a car. You know, it was only in the 1950s that they started to go crazy and have all of this, you know. He would always get more and more stuff on his utility belt. But the car started out for years as just a car. But then in the 50s or so, they said, no, we can put a small computer, we can put a small crime lab into the back of it. It'll make it an even more cool car. And now, of course, we have today, basically they're trying to make Iron Man out of Batman all the time. Every single Batman we've had for the last number of years. You know, starting with, I guess, with the Christopher Nolan Batman, we started to get magic everything. You know, it's not just a guy in a suit, it's a guy in armor. I mean, it's a cloth suit or something like that. It's not just a guy with a cool utility belt. He's got a cool utility belt and 5 million other things. You know, it started to go crazy because they saw how Iron Man was doing, and they said, how can we do that? We want some of that. How do we do that? They need to just have Batman, a guy in a cloth suit, the greatest detective in the world. When Gordon can't figure something out, he shows up, does some stuff, starts doing his detective work. It's like putting a costume on Sherlock Holmes, really. Drop Truth says, was the Green Hornet derived from Batman? Actually, the Green Hornet has a very weird production history. I happened to be listening to it the other day. The Green Hornet was originally a weekly. No, let me think here. How did that work out? Yeah, what it was originally a Detroit radio program. Radios used to be everything that we have on TV now. And at one point they said, okay, how can we, and what was real popular as well that they were producing at that time was the Lone Ranger. So they said, okay, how can we come up with something that's a spin-off of Lone Ranger but somehow works today? Well, it turns out that the secret identity of the Green Hornet, and I'm not remembering what his full name is, John Reed or something like that. Last name's Reed, but he is the great-great-grandnephew of the guy that you heard in the radio program who was tending. He was the brother of the Lone Ranger, and he had to deal with some tending the silver mine from which they both made the bullets that they used so famously, and also to keep their operating expenses up. If you ever wondered where is he getting all of these the money to run, and where is he getting all these silver bullets? Well, that's where it came from. So I don't remember if his first name's John, but his last name's Reed, is the great-great-grandnephew of the Lone Ranger. So that show was very explicitly tied to something that happened. On the radio station where it originated, there was, I guess what you'd call sort of a crusading investigating reporter. And he had a big show on at the end, like every Sunday or something like that. I've forgotten now. Once a week, once a day, he had his own show where he would talk about corruption. And as it happened at that time, in Detroit, there was a lot of corruption. And so he had lots of stuff to talk about. And then, on the way home from a broadcast, he was assassinated. He was killed by the gangland. It was a gangland shooting. Killed him. So what they did with Green Hornet was they said, okay, we want to make it similar to that. We're going to take, because the Green Hornet, his alter ego, is the editor and a crusading reporter for a local newspaper. So they said, we're going to take that. We're going to take that event where somebody on our station was killed because of what they're doing. We're going to flip it a little bit and turn it into a radio program. It spilled over eventually into the comics, comic strips, daily comics, and I believe there were some that were published, but those were mostly republishing the dailies. So there's a comic over it. There's most famously a Batman. There's a 1960s TV series that's kind of camp that had crossovers with Batman. But no, the Green Hornet origin is actually a hell of a lot more interesting than you'd think. Main thing to remember is Green Hornet is, in fact, related to the Lone Ranger, and that's by design. He is related to the Lone Ranger. Let's see. Drop Truth says Chuck Barris designed the classic Batmobile. Way cool. Yeah, I generally have liked Batmobiles, but my favorite probably of all time is the 1960s Batmobile. That said, probably right in behind it is the one from the 1989 Batman movie. I would like to have any of those Batmobiles. That would be so cool to be driving around. There's a guy somewhere, I think, in Australia who has a street legal 1989 Batman movie Batmobile. Goes around in it and everything. I'd probably like to have the 60s Batmobile for that. But give me any Batmobile that I can drive around on the street. Drop Truth says, in Japan, the Green Hornet was known as the Kato Show because of the popularity of Bruce Lee. Yeah, that was the 60s TV series, and Bruce Lee thought it was going to be his, he didn't think that was going to be his breakout, but when he got Bruce Lee called up he was going to be doing Kung Fu, the one starring David Carradine. And if he'd done that, it would have been a huge breakout role for him. And he was a little perturbed. I remember reading someplace he was pretty perturbed that he didn't get that movie TV show while at the same time they gave it to a guy who was in no way of Asian origin. Looked a little bit like it, but he wasn't. So today you couldn't even do that. You couldn't get away with it. You just couldn't do it. Shadowman says, I want that 60s Batmobile. Yeah, as I say, probably my favorite of all time is that 60s Batmobile, just because of all the little gadgets that it's got here, the bat this, the bat that, and everything, and its general look, the exterior look. That's obviously, I don't know if you don't know, that the 60s Batmobile was a concept car. It was one that, I remember Ford or somebody made like 3 of as a concept vehicle. They'd show it off at car shows and stuff like that, but it was never intended to be purchased and driven. So there are people now who have street legal 60s Batmobiles. Those are probably a little bit easier to make street legal than the 1989 one, because the 1989 one has a long chassis and all kinds of other stuff. Can't imagine that it would get very good mileage. Rob 2 says Bruce Lee was apoplectic about missing out on Kung Fu. He wasn't known for his humility. Yeah, I know that. Yeah, he was. There's a lot of different stories, but a lot of the stuff that he talks about that he did or how strong he was or all that tended to be a little bit on the self-promotional side. No, don't get me wrong. He was a great martial artist in movies. I've seen, Bruce Lee movies, and they're always very, generally on the edge of your seat for most of the fights. So he's really very good at that. But like anybody else, he was kind of self-promotional. Yeah. Shadow Man says, yes, I know about it. It was the Ford Futura concept vehicle. 3 of them made. Yeah. They've done that a lot. There's some funny ones that you can see that were used for Star Trek episodes where they were supposed to have something like Bread and Circuses uses because that's supposed to be taking place on a very similar world to Earth, where we have these, instead of coming down and sort of going down Western civilization as we imagine it, maybe there wasn't something like a bubonic plague, and we went down the direction of the Romans, right? But if you look in the backgrounds and on commercials and stuff like that within the show, you will see different interesting-looking cars, like a 3-wheeled car and things like that. Again, all concept cars that they borrowed very briefly to shoot a little film with or shoot some stills with so they could use it in the show. Anytime they could get something like that, they would, yes. Drop 2 says, who's your favorite comic book Batman artist, Neil Adams or Jim Aparo? Yeah, Neil Adams for me, hands down, just hands down. He took Batman basically at a time where he'd been sort of defined by that 1960s series and turned it around so that he was once again the greatest detective on Earth and a guy with a costume. And I think all of Adams' work is really good, frankly, just about all of it. If you want to get me a Neil Adams drawing with his his signature on it, says, "To my bestest friend in the world, Bill, I'll be happy." I'd be fine with that. I did also like Jim Aparo. Not for the same thing, but he had a real stylized way of doing it that worked rather well for Batman. So I also liked him. 1995. It was a 19. Let me look. I can't quite see if it's a 5 or 6. 1955 Lincoln Futura. Okay. Either way, it was still a cool concept car that I would love to have someday, but will never have the money for because I have to work for a living. So, or did. And I'm not going to be retiring with tons and tons of cash. Oh, God, I've still got my thing on here, and I'm watching Supergirl chewing gum, I guess, is what she's doing now. I can't tell. And Martian Manhunter not looking like a Martian. I'm going to turn it off. It's dumb. It's dumb. It's stupid. It's awful. It's ringing. Throw that set away. Okay. The showman says, yup. Sorry, moving a couple of things back over here so that I don't have to be constantly watching this crap. I want to take you and move you down here. And I can get rid of you and you. I have so many windows open when I'm doing streaming like this because I've got the program that I'm using to actually do the streaming, which is OBS, Open Broadcast Software. I have a very, very poor man's teleprompter. Teleprompter. It's not really a teleprompter. It's just an application that lets me use my mouse wheel to scroll past, and there are some things that I have there written on it. So, but then I've got also, I'm now down here. I usually have it up higher. But now down here, I have a window that's showing stream information, and sometimes it's right and sometimes it's wrong. But I always have these things up, and then I, of course, usually have that window up where I'm watching the show online. Dropazoo says, what's my opinion about the new Robert Pattycake Batman? I'm willing to give that a shot. I'm willing to wait and see. I was, you know, I've heard lots of things. I haven't really seen anything Robert Pattinson's in, aside from those movies where vampires are sparkling. But I think about it in the same way of Michael Keaton in 1989. At that time, Michael Keaton was only known for his comedic work. It was the only thing he was known for. He was he'd had some fairly recent success with Beetlejuice, and you know, that sort of comedy is what he was really known for. And so when we were told he'd been cast as Batman, we were just like, oh, God, no. You know, this is going to be another comedy like it was in the 60s. That's not what we want with our Batman in that. Well, it turned out he was great. Turned out he was really good in it. He's my favorite. He's my favorite Batman actor. He turned out he was really good in it. So as far as Robert Pattinson goes, yeah, on the face of it, I go, man, that sounds like a weird sort of, thing. But they made the same sort of choice in 1989. I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt just to see what happens. All of my expectations with regards to any DC film with their characters in it, my expectations are somewhere lower than Dinosaur Bones. You can't do much of anything that's going to say, well, yeah, what a shock, it sucks. You know, that's what I'm expecting. At best, you might be able to kind of, oh, wow, that turned out to be better than I thought. So if it turns out to suck, I'm going to be like, yeah, okay, they pretty much all do. And if it turns out to be any good, I'll go, wow, cool, they actually did something right for once. Maybe they'll keep that up. But again, when you got expectations lower than dinosaur bones, if you can do anything positive, that's going to show up on my radar. What's the word? Worst Batman film, in my opinion? I think I mentioned that. Worst Batman is the one, I don't remember which name it is, but it's one where Batman has Robin and Batgirl. I think Batgirl's in it, and the Two-Face and Bane and what's his name? The Riddler. That one I thought was really terrible. I don't even remember the name. Probably because I thought it was awful. Robert Pattinson's Shadow Man says is just too wimpy. He's a good guy, but Batman. Yeah, I totally agree with you. That's what he's got the reputation for, and I don't know how that translates into doing something like this. Because of how surprised I was at Michael Keaton, I am willing to, again, the benefit of the doubt until I actually see him, but since my expectations are lower than dinosaur bones, who cares? Do I watch the DC animated films, Justice League, Dark Apocalypse War? I have watched some of them. To be frank, what I'm seeing now does not equal what Bruce Timm did with the Batman, but the DC animated universe. That's the best one they've done. They generally made the right decisions, the right choices on that one. And if they did nothing else, they could go back and just steal all of the scripts from those and do them. Same thing with Batman. You don't have Darkseid as your first villain. You work up to that down the line. That is where they have done all of their heroes the best, is in the DC animated universe. And if they were smart, they would just pick up those scripts and start making them into live action films, because they're almost all pretty good. So the Batman Forever, a Joel Schumacher travesty. Yeah, I didn't remember who it was. I knew it was Schumacher's, but I didn't remember which Batman. And I just have a bad taste, and it's a blur of bad. I can name several different scenes that are just so bad, you just like, okay, forget it, I'm giving up. But it's kind of a blur of it because of that. Michael Keaton read the script of Batman Forever and refused a $15 million paycheck. Well, good for him. I'm always glad to hear when actors have some level of artistic integrity. By then he had a fair amount of money because he was pretty popular actor and remained so. But anytime an actor can say, "Wow, they're going to give me $15 million and all I have to do is this," that is, boy, I could really use that $15 million for practically no work. And I'm sure that went through his mind. But when you got somebody who has enough integrity to say, boy, $15 million would be nice, but this thing really sucks, so I'm going to pass. That's yay for Keaton. Well, let's see. It is about 8:32 my time, which is half hour or so after Batwoman was over. Watch the Drop Truth says, watch the Screen Rant Batman Forever, a pitch meeting. It's hilarious. Oh, I'm sure I've seen it. I've watched all of those pitch meetings. I watch them with extreme interest when they come out. I think they are hysterical. I wish I had the necessary talent to write something like that, and the ability to edit it, because those are just so much fun. I have watched, they have one that's an edited version of all of the Marvel movies all the way up through, I think they got through, I know they got through in the last Avengers movie. I think they got into the Spider-Man that came after that. But they do it all in chronological order, the movies, not when they made them, but when the movies would have appeared chronologically. They're great. They're just great. It's the one that if you really want to have some fun, if you haven't seen the TV series Tiger King. Okay, I hadn't seen it, but I watched the Screen Junkies, Batman Forever. I'm sorry, the pitch meeting for that. There's probably several writers on the pitch. I'm sure there are. Yeah, there's more than one. That's a professionally run show. But the pitch meeting. God, where was I? I wandered off. Oh well. The pitch meeting for the Tiger King, right? If you've not seen it, if you watch the pitch meeting, you just go, "This can't be real." It's too funny. It is just by nature hysterical. And if you watch the pitch meeting, you go, "This can't be real. This can't be real." So I was intrigued by this. I hadn't seen the TV series, so I watched that and I went, "That can't be real." So I put it on and I'm watching it, and after an episode or two, I'm like, "This can't be real. This can't be an actual, documentary of some kind. This is all too crazy." And then you start looking it up and you go, "No, it's real. My God, this actually happened in some fashion or another." No doubt it's not 100% accurate, but still you go, "I can't believe that actually happened." So, but the pitch meeting for that is really funny, because the subject matter is itself so bizarre. Like I say, you just say to yourself, "This can't possibly be real. This can't be real. There's no way that something this crazy is real." No, it's real. Drop It 2 says, "I watched the Tiger King and pitch meeting and so didn't bother with the series." Yeah, you can do that too. Just when they're talking about this crazy stuff. Yeah, it's real. It actually happened. It actually happened, You have this one guy who keeps tigers. He's not the main focus of the story, but he also has basically a harem of women that he has convinced. And basically, it's like a cult. There's that guy. There's the woman who has tigers and may have killed her husband and fed them to one. Really? That's an actual thing that may have happened in the show. And then there's the guy who, he's in jail right from the beginning. They start off with him being in jail. But he had his goose cooked 9 different ways from Sunday, not the least of which was he actually called tried to get somebody, he tried to put out a hit on this woman I just talked about who's maybe killed her husband and fed him to the tiger. He wants to put out a hit on her because he considers her his worst enemy or something. It's just, what the hell? And so you just remember, if you're watching that, everything they say in there is to some extent true. It's just so crazy, but it's true. Dropper 2 says, "Who is my favorite DC Comics character? Superman. I have been a Superman fan since way, way back. Basically kind of discovered comic books with Superman. If you ever want to watch it, I'll put a link to it after I'm done here. But my review for the Superman the movie in 1978 talks about some of my very personal connections with that and why I think that movie is really good, and why I think the character of Superman, while he seems like a goody two-shoes today, is in fact a character that could exist today, given that character's backstory. And I've always said to DC, for God's sake, call me, particularly with respect to Superman. You have no idea what you're doing with this character. You're screwing it up big time, and as a consequence, sales have been dropping off for years. Call me. I will provide scripts, and we can go to town and have a character that will hit the stands again. But of course, DC doesn't do that because they're a bunch of idiots. Deep Drops who's enjoyed my 40th anniversary show. I do this a lot. Actually, I have been way behind on doing actual reviews for this show. Coming up very soon, I hope, is Colossus, the Foreman Project. That one's oddly enough timely. But it's another one where I've got a 50th or 60th anniversary review, I think, on it. I do that a lot with my older stuff, and sometimes it's good, and sometimes you get something. Please don't ever watch Frankenstein 1970. That was shot in 1958, I think, and it's a terrible movie. Don't ever watch that. I did review it, and I wish I hadn't now. But the ones that I do these, what I'm trying to do generally is get films on their anniversary of some kind. So I'll go all the way back to 1900 if there's something back there. 1910, 20, 30, 40, etc. That's this year. Next year it'll be the 21s and so forth. I have a whole bunch of them that I'm behind on doing for a variety of reasons having to do with COVID. None of them bad, just time consuming. So, Colossus, the Forbin Project is really good, and it's timely. We're talking about what happens if, your AI decides that you're wrong and it's going to do things for you. We're at that point now. We're starting to be at that point. What happens when the AI does something that you didn't? And it's real cute. It's interesting to watch. I've watched it a couple of times now. I've been doing notes. Hopefully next week. Hopefully. In behind that is a review that I have the date scheduled for. I don't know if I'll hit it on that date, but it'll be another 60th anniversary review for Beneath Planet of the Apes. So I'll be doing that as I go along. So I've got a couple that I'm literally having the works. So just for various reasons, have not had a chance to sit down and write out completely and record. So I will be getting back to some actual reviews, particularly since next week, I didn't realize it, is where the live streams for Batwoman are going to come to an end. I'm going to figure out some other reason to have a live stream after that. I think doing them once a week is a good idea. So, did I get the link to the Starlog magazine, The Fantastic Hollywood Muscleman, which has the David Prowse routine for Christopher Reeve? I did, and thank you very much for that. Always like to see this because I remembered there being pictures around that time, but of course, so much time has passed. You want some real fun for me? If you want real fun, hunt up the Parade magazine piece on Bill Shatner in the mid-1980s, after he had done Star Trek II, but before he started T.J. Hooker, or maybe he was just about to do production on T.J. Hooker. Look for that one, because it has a picture, shockingly enough, of Bill Shatner without his rug. And he doesn't look bad. I don't know where they got the picture. I have no idea because I've never seen it before or since. I only saw it one time as part of the color insert Parade magazine, which newspapers used to get and still do, I think. But it's in Parade magazine, early to mid 1980s, but as a picture of Bill Shatner without his rug. And God, I wish, now looking back at that time, I wish I had bagged and boarded that sucker. Because that would be, nobody remembers that thing, but I sure as hell do. Anybody on that Sunday who are friends of mine in Star Trek remember that one, because he had no rug. What he had going on was not dissimilar from what I have going on. You can see here that in point of fact, I have no hair up in the temples and kind of a widow's peak. It's starting to thin out really badly. But that's not unlike what Shatner's hair was like in the mid-1980s. It didn't look bad. It looked normal for a man his age. If he had gone on with that hair in movies, it would have been fine. The Star Trek movies wouldn't have suffered from him showing his own hair. He was just vain enough that he didn't want to do it. But if you can find that one, Parade magazine, early to mid 1980s, Shatner without his rug. Big picture, full page, magazine insert page picture. Again, wish I had grabbed it. Colossus, yeah, great film. Many have known of its existence. Yeah, it's part of the reason I do some of the older reviews here. Westworld's Robobeam is based on Colossus. Plagiarism or homage? I don't know. There's very little that's new in the world. Very, very little that's new. I don't know if you call it plagiarism necessarily. People are using ideas from other people constantly. It's just how science fiction works. They've been using ideas from ideas all the way back. I mean, I get a kick out of just going out to, Project Gutenberg and reading Astounding Stories #1. And, that's 1929 or 31, something like that. And even then, if you read the stories, you say, okay, if we take this and we update it to more present tech, the issues that they're exploring in these stories tend to be the same ones we see today. The difference is just technology involved. There was one in the first issue of Amazing Stories. Amazing Stories. Astounding. There was one in the first issue of Astounding. Why does it bump in? I don't remember what it was about, but it was something that we see science fiction tropes using all the time. Very, very little is new. If you go back in time and start going through all of those, you go, wow, this is the same kind of story we're seeing today. It's just that we have to change the technology. Instead of having rocket ships and stories taking place on Mars, we have warp drive and stories that take place on Tarsus 6. But the story itself, what they're examining in that story, oftentimes is very, very similar to what we've seen for decades. It's just that the people coming up with it now don't know about it, or they saw it and they went, that's a good idea for basis for a different story that I want to write. I can take that piece and kind of run with it. So I don't think there's generally a lot of plagiarism most of the time. Sometimes you get, where they're taking things and calling it homage. Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, Star Trek Nemesis. There are two really common movies, or for that matter, Star Trek Into Darkness, where gotta love him. Where what's his name? Director Nicholas Meyer said, "Well, if you're gonna rip off a movie, at least rip off the best one." So. I tell you, that's probably about all I'm going to talk about. Do always want to mention one thing, because not only is Batwoman the modern-day Plan 9 from outer space, the production staff is so utterly incompetent that not only did they send Ruby Rose into surgery to prevent being paralyzed, it actually caused production assistant Amanda Smith to become paralyzed by lowering a crane on top of her head. I have, in fact, discussed this in another video. Batwoman production assistant paralyzed, fans to the rescue. You can see it in my link below if you want to see the full gory details of how stupid and horrible this company is. So I do just like to remind my viewers, please do donate to the Amanda Smith Rehabilitation Fund, because as far as I know, no one is paying for her. She got paralyzed and is needing all kinds of expenses in rehabilitation, and neither Warner Brothers nor the CW nor the production on Batwoman is paying her anything for this. So please do go and donate to her fund. It is the Amanda Smith Rehabilitation Fund. It's GoFundMe. You can find it at gofundme.com/F/Amanda-Smith-Rehabilitation fund. So please donate early, donate often. She's got lots of stuff that she needs to deal with. Nobody's sure if she's ever going to get if she's ever going to get her feeling back. She may be paralyzed forever. We don't even know yet. So do go and donate. And that is all that I have to say about that. I would love to keep the conversation going, so please leave your comments, questions, and nasty remarks. And do remember to donate to the Amanda Smith Rehabilitation Fund at www.gofundme.com/F/Amanda-Smith-Rehabilitation-Fund. And come back next time on the same bat time and the same bat channel for another episode of Tales from SYL Ranch, where everyone is entitled to my opinion. And I'm Bill Stone.
Ultimate power in this world has always been one simple thing: the control and manipulation of minds.